Northern Territorians are going to the polls today in what is shaping up to be a potentially close election. Joining us live is Darwin University Political Lecturer Dr. Nathan Franklin. Thank you so much for joining us. So we appreciate your time today. So Labor is hoping to secure a third term in government. What do you think their chances are?
The chances are pretty good. They've got a stronghold in the northern suburbs, which is Darwin. There's 9 seats in this city. And they'll probably win about 7, I'd say. The other jurisdiction is Palmerston, which has traditionally been controlled by the CLP, the Conservatives. That's where Eva Lawler has her seat, the one seat for Labor, and she's the Chief Minister. She does have a struggle there to keep her seat, so we'll see what happens there. But she does have the element of incumbency, and she does work hard, and she is liked. And she's only been in there about 8 months to prove her credentials as the leader of the Labor Party after the resignation of Natasha Files just before Christmas last year. And of course, there's the bush. And the bush, given that it's a high demography of Indigenous people, and that increased when we had the Voice referendum last year, Indigenous people were signed up so that they could actually vote, and that they will likely vote for Labor. So what you're hearing with crime and stuff like that, it is an issue, but I'm not sure it's enough to flip the election.
A lot of people, the general mood with voters across the whole country, have not really been impressed with the two-party system. What are we hearing in the Northern Territory in that regard? Yeah,
that's a phenomenon that's gone to every state and territory around Australia and the federal, Parliament, as we've seen. The Northern Territory is different. It's very difficult for independents to get up unless they're very well known or they had the party machine to start with. So we got 4 independents at the moment, but 3 of those actually came from, the major parties. It's just that they were resigned or kicked out at some point. But so they got in the initial phase because of the party machine. So the independents will really find it difficult to win. If they're going to win in the first round, it means that the CLP candidate and the ALP candidate both have to get under 25%. So for that independent to win in the first round, they have to get 51% plus 1. So that'll be very difficult. And of course, they'll have to do preferences. Voters who vote for those independents will have to, put a preference down. Otherwise, it's a donkey vote and doesn't get counted. And most of those votes will likely go to Labor, as much as they don't like Labor with its policies on climate and the environment. They are seen as the progressive party as compared to the CLP.
And just on climate, you've spoken about crime, cost of living, obviously a big issue as well. But tell us about climate and how big of an issue it is, because both CLP and Labor support middle arms, for example. So anyone concerned about that are going to have to potentially vote Green or Independent.
That's right. So there will be a protest vote, and that will play out with the votes that go to the Independents and the Greens. And the Greens are trying to win a seat in Fanny Bay. They think they've got a good chance because the current sitting member only won by a few hundred votes at the last election. But of course, it's difficult. It's still going to be difficult for the Greens to win. They've never had a seat. So in regards to climate change and, the environment, it's not the main thing in Territorians' minds. It's the cost of living, it's job security, it's growth of the economy, and it's also migration. So we all hear about we need more homes, we need more affordable homes, we need more construction, we need more projects. And the impact on the environment is something that's considered, but it's not the main consideration. It's hard to do business in the Northern Territory. It's hard to attract investment. And that's why we see, free water to, cotton growers and, other in-kind help from the government just to attract that business.
All right, so getting back to crime, tell us about both parties. They both want to open more jails. How similar, how different are these major parties in terms of their policies on crime?
The one thing lacking from the CLP is they haven't got a clear policy with police. They haven't talked about what they're going to fund and what they're going to do. If they're going to fund, new prisons and correctional centres, sure. But on the ground, boots on the ground, if you like, of policing. The Labor Party have committed to 200 new police and 50 other auxiliary officers and more call centre officers, but the CLP have not done that. So that's probably a political ploy because it may require, a bigger funding than they're prepared to admit to. Of course, they're trying to, rein in some of the spending. We do have a budget black hole of $10 billion that'll blow out to $12 billion. And it's interesting that the CLP haven't talked about the budget that much. They're just talking about crime. And in the last 4 by-elections over the last 4 or 5 years, the CLP have not won any of those. The Labor Party have won. And as early as only 18 months ago, I think it was March last year, so not even 18 months ago. So Labor have won that seat, and the year before and the year before that. And crime was an issue back then. So crime is not the only issue. It is a issue, but they haven't done better on the policy front, and they haven't done better in terms of the long-term strategy. It's just short-term tactics. I'm not sure that the CLP will win outright, as some pundits are predicting. I'm actually predicting an ALP win, although with a hit, with a reduction in votes across the board.
All right, we've got to wrap it up, but really appreciate your time and analysis, Dr. Nathan Franklin. We'll certainly know very soon the result.
Thank you, Janie.
Thank you. And make sure, if you can, join Sky's All-Star lineup for live coverage of the Northern Territory's election night, and that will include a punchy panel with CLP Senator Jacinta Price and Labor's Nicole Manison. Our rolling coverage of all of the results and reactions begins for you at 6:30 p.m. Eastern tonight.